freezing. It's kicking me. All right, hold on. We're gonna restart this because we're not going out like this. Hold on, let me meet the right people on Facebook. Technical difficulties, you know. It's a Saturday night. Talking about some crazy stuff. What's going on here? Is it working on Facebook still? Anybody on Facebook? Yes, no, yes. Is it? Can I hear myself? Is it working on Facebook still? Okay, it's working still. But all right. So yeah, we're back on it. I think it's working now. Okay, bet. All right, we're good. We're good to go. We're good to go. Knew some stuff was gonna happen, right? So yeah, so black-eyed children, white-eyed children, they're very common. Sadly, in Texas, there's a lot of people that witness them in like Oregon and stuff. And I mean, it's sad. I mean, you know, it's creepy, but it's something that I feel that you should understand. I mean, if you believe in this stuff, you should understand it. You should understand how to deal with it. You should understand how to handle those situations if you're ever in it, right? Because I mean, they literally just will show up and just start banging on your stuff like that. Imagine trying to sleep and somebody banging on your window like that. You probably get pissed off, right? So yeah, yeah. So Julie said the children will claim that they're lost and need to call the parents, or they will be coming soon and ask to wait inside your place. So see, when they call you or they ask for to come inside, you never want to let them inside. Just don't. I mean, it's gonna be creepy because they're gonna probably just be like, "Hey, please, you know, let me in. Like, let me in, let me in, let me in." And of course, you feel bad because you're leaving kids there. But I mean, you can't do that to yourself. It's detrimental to yourself if you do that, right? So that being said, so that being said, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on there, especially on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff on there, encounters. I've personally never witnessed them. I don't want to witness them. I don't want to deal with that. I mean, I've had my fair share of stuff, but I don't want to deal with that right there. I told you, Children of the Corn scarred me for life. I remember for some reason, every time I was alone in the house and everybody was outside, that movie was on TV. So I'd walk into a room, I'd just see those kids there, and oh, they would give me like the creeps every time. I hated it. So, I mean, honestly, it's one of those things where it happens a lot. So I feel that you should really learn about it. I said if I can share some stuff also, you know, especially on my Facebook, I can share some stuff on what we talk about here and just, you know, do all that. So I don't want to talk about mirrors yet. We'll go into that. So after our last video, I ended up telling people, I was like, I know what I'm doing is, you know, it's a very interesting topic, and it's very interesting that we're doing this, but I know it's going to have repercussions per se. And so the other night, I mean, my coworkers heard about it because I was just so sore the next day. But the other night I was asleep, and you know we talked about sleep paralysis last time, right? So a lot of people were actually a lot of people were writing me about different sleep paralyses that they deal with, you know, and it's pretty dope, like to hear about the different ways that they, you know, some people they have like a heavy pressure on their chest, or they'll see something standing on top of them, or somebody in the room watching them, right, or anything. Like all of us have different ones, right? So me, I've never had this type of sleep paralysis, and it was very, very interesting to say. So I was asleep, and I woke up like if I was getting up in the middle of the night, but I didn't get up. Like it kind of was just like an astral projection type of thing. And so all I remember is looking down at my fingers, and my fingers are doing like this, but they're like bending like in different ways. Like imagine me just throwing up random gang signs like in my sleep. Yeah, that's what it was doing. And so it was hurting, and so I was really just like I could feel the pain like while I was doing it, and I was trying to wake myself up, but I couldn't, right? So then as I was doing it, Don't play, bro, because I just heard a noise right behind me, and I'm looking right at the camera and all that stuff. So yeah, if something is behind me though, please let me know, like for real, because I mean I can't punch a ghost or nothing, but I'm gonna swing either way, right? So yeah, and it was very creepy, like for about an hour. You ever had those shock things? I know you're kidding, bro, but right before you said that, I heard like if somebody stepped behind me, like by my door, and I know it ain't my dad. My dad's asleep, so I was kind of like, hold on. And then you said that, so I had to double take real quick. But yeah, and so you ever had those like things where you put they're supposed to like massage your muscles and all that stuff. You put them on, and then they shock, right, and you shock your muscles. So it was basically I had it all on my neck, all the way down, all on my from my fingers down to my arms to my back, and it was just like if somebody would turn it all the way up, and I'd get shocked, and all I remember was just like grimacing and like making a face like if I was in pain, and I couldn't wake up. I couldn't get up. I couldn't wake up. And I'm telling you, it would do it, and then I would kind of just fall back onto the bed, like laying back down like that, because I was just so tired from like my muscles just being shocked, and I would just do that. Hey, Allison, welcome, welcome. Thank you for the like. Thank you for the like. And so I would fall down. I would come back up and all that stuff. And I didn't remember. That's how much pain I was in that night of trying to go to sleep. I didn't remember until I got to work and I actually started moving around. And my body felt like if I got hit by a car or something, like I just felt like if I went to the gym and just did the most craziest workout and then blew my back out. Like I had patches all over me. I had icy hot and stuff. And it was just very weird. And so I didn't I've never had a sleep paralysis like that to that extent. I mean, like I've had the sleep paralysis where, I see somebody in my room and I'm like trying to wake myself up like, "Yo, who's this?" And I know it's not like an intruder or nothing, right? But you know that, right? You know that feeling you get when you're like, yeah, something's in here with me. And it was weird because I didn't feel that when I had it, but I've never had it to that magnitude before, right? And it's just it's kind of scary and all that stuff. I said I knew um, one of my friend Josiah, the one that wrote in last time on the video, he actually sent me a picture of his leg. His leg had got let me see, I think I have it. He wrote me the next day and he's like, "Hey, bro, I remember I shared all that stuff with you about him saying he was attacked and all this stuff." And so I was like, "Yeah, bro, what's up, man?" He goes, "Yeah, bro." He goes, "I got attacked last night." And so I don't know if you can see it, but like it's very hard to see. Hold on, can we get it? It looks. See, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. It's a very red, right where the light's at. Let me see. Nah, it's kind of hard to see. I'll post it on my Facebook. But yeah, he has a red scratch on it. And I know if you've ever been like scratched by something or, you know, you know that feeling. But like when it's like with what supernatural will call it, it burns. It burns like, and it feels weird, and it just, it's not I didn't scratch this on, something on my bed or something, like, what it is. And so for him to say that, I felt kind of bad because I didn't want it to be like, hey, you're telling me this and that, and this is what's happening. It wasn't that. It was just more of a, man, like, I'll see what I can do to help. Like, when it comes, like, I had a bunch of people write me afterwards about, they want to come on here and talk. I mean, you're always welcome to come on here on my Discord and talk. I mean, if you're on camera, I can put a double video up here and we can talk all day. I mean, anybody that has experiences and all that stuff, hey, you're welcome to share it here. Like, that's what we're here for, man. And it's just, it's good to know that you're not alone when you see stuff, when you hear stuff, when you feel stuff. You know that, right? So yeah. Now into the topic that I was dreading to get into, but we're going to do it because it's one of my biggest fears I probably have, besides heights. Heights is my biggest. But this is one that I've always been very scared of, per se, and it's mirrors. I am terrified of mirrors. Like, in the daytime, I'll look in a mirror, I'll do this and that, but like nighttime sleeping in a room with a mirror, no, thank you. I won't. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. And my room has no mirrors, besides if you count my TV as a mirror per se. But yeah, nothing in my room has mirrors in it. Like I can't do it. I just growing up having mirrors in my room was very difficult, and the so my fear of mirrors honestly did not start until I was maybe like 16, 15, and when I learned about what mirrors kind of are, so if you never heard, like, a lot of, I would say, like, Native Americans and other older, civilizations, they believe that, mirrors, well, it's still to this day, they believe mirrors are like portals to other realms, portals to the other side, however that you want to word it. And so they believe that, I mean, if you can see one way in, of course you can see one way out, right? And so the story goes to one of my brothers, my brother Justin. Yeah, and so I've heard that they heard. I mean, and this is what I'm saying. I found that out firsthand that they hold spirits, and I mean, so my brother Justin, I was little. I was probably about fifth grade. I'd I went to his house. He lived in a little old gray house, right? And I would always go there. But one thing about this old gray house is it was always cold there, like super cold in the house. And I'm like, I mean, as a kid, I didn't know the difference. I was like, damn, this boy has some mean air conditions in here, right? But the thing is, it just got to a point where, like, I I wasn't kind of feeling being there, and I really didn't want to be there, but it was a place where my mom could drop me off if she needed to do something, and I would be with my brother. I mean, I didn't mind being with my brother. It was just the house. The house was there. So my brother had a big pit bull named Rambo, right? Anytime I would wake up to go use the restroom or something, he would wake up and walk with me. So my brother's old house, it was a bedroom, bathroom in the middle, a living room, and a kitchen. That was it. And it was very small. It was a small, old, rinky dink one. I remember I talked about this last time, but I mean, I want to get into the story of how this sets up what happens to me later on, right? So he would always walk with me. He'd walk, and then whenever we get to the restroom, he'd back walk with me and into the restroom and stay there while I use the restroom, and then he'd leave and go out. And we go back to my brother's room, and my brother had like a spare bed. I'd sleep on there, and my brother would be in his bed. And so that was, I thought, oh, he's just protective. Well, probably about a few weeks later, my mom was telling me, like, hey, your brother's moving back in with us, this and that, and I'm like, why is he moving back in with us? Like, so it affected me because I had to share a room with my sisters. Well, for all my sisters' clothing and all that stuff, as them being teenagers. So my room got turned into Nick's room, aka my sister's closet, aka whatever. So I was like, okay, whatever. I never asked what happened until I kind of like forced my way in. I was that kid that would be sneaking around listening to the conversation. So all I remember hearing was, at that time, was the one of the priests from one of the local churches here telling my mom that they just needed to get out of there. Like, he'll go with them when they go pick up the stuff, but that nobody needs to be in that house. And I mean, even a blessing wasn't going to fix it. So me being the person I am, I was intrigued. I was like, yo, I want to find out about this, especially being somebody that stayed the night there, right? So what happened was I ended up getting the story, and it was by my cousin, it was by my brother, and about his stepbrother. And so what happened was, in their room, the living room, my brother used to have like a recliner, and so it would face right outside of the window, right, of the street. So it faced right outside of the window, and then what would happen was, it would the window was open, and you would see whoever was sitting in the chair, right? So my brother was asleep in his room, mind you, and my cousin and my brother's stepbrother, they were going to pick my brother up to take him somewhere. When they drove by, so they drive in, right? When they pass by the front, they see a lady a lady in like all they said like a lady in black and gray just staring at them from the street, like from inside the house, but at the street. And so they're driving by and they're like, wait, well, who's this like random person in, in Justin's living room? So they turn around. My brother's room is in the back of the house. So they drive around to the back, park there, knock on my brother's window, boom, boom. And he goes, what's up? And, they're saying like, oh, hey, somebody's in your house, this and that, da 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 da. And so, I mean, he's thinking somebody broke into my house. Okay, so he grabs his gun, he walks to the living room, right? And mind you, the recliner was facing this way towards the street, right? So the living room's here, the hallway to the bedroom's right here. When he opened his door, he said the recliner was turned to him, like if facing towards his bedroom now. And so he was like, yo, what the hell? And so he said he didn't see anything, so he goes and opens the door. They come inside, and then when he turns around after opening the door, now the recliner is facing towards the back door where he let his stepbrother and my cousin in. So he's now like, yo, okay, that's weird. And they're like, what? And they go, man, they were like, bro, when we came, the chair was facing there and there was a lady sitting in this chair. And he's like, yeah, but there's nobody here, dog. And so they were like, well, let's go into the extra room. That my brother used to have an extra room where one of his old friends used to stay there. So he went into there and they didn't see nothing. But when they came back out, they saw a lady standing in the living room, and that's when they were kind of like, yo, what the heck? So my brother and them being people that didn't believe in it, they kind of were like, yeah, we're just going to grab our stuff and we're going to head out. So my brother told my cousin to go get the car and bring it around, to leave it around there so they could, grab their stuff and leave. So him and his stepbrother stayed. What happened was they stayed. My cousin went to the truck and the door closed. And so, I mean, my cousin didn't think anything of it. He was still getting the truck ready, right? So what happened, my brother and them said, is they went to grab the stuff, and when they went outside to go outside in the back door, the door wouldn't open. They couldn't open the door. It was like if somebody was holding it from the outside, like, just holding them in. And so he was like, yo, like he thought it was my cousin. He's like, hey, quit playing, bro. Like, this and that. And mind you, then all my brother hears is a scream from like his brother. And so his brother's like, yo, like something just scratched me. And he's screaming. He's like, dude, I gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here. And so my brother starts kicking the door. It's an old wooden little rink-a-dink door, honestly. And so he starts kicking the door and it breaks down. And then they go outside and my brother's yelling at my cousin like, dude, why are you holding the door for? And my cousin's in the car, mind you, at the street park. So he's like, bro, there's no way for me to hold that door. He goes, I've been in the car this whole time. So when they look at his brother's back, he has a scratch on his back, like from one shoulder to the next. So, mind you, that's when he told my mom what happened. My mom called the priest. The priest went over there, this and that. I was there this day when they searched it and all that stuff. That's when I started to realize, yo, this stuff is creepy. So in the spare room, what they found was under the rug that his friend left there was a big old like carvings in the floor. I guess she was doing like spiritual stuff, this and that, In the house, there was in each doorway there was like these little baggies with like chicken bones and ash and stuff. And so as the father is basically blessing the house and stuff, he's like, yo, y'all need to get out of here. So we packed everything up, right? I was terrified already because I knew what was happening and I didn't want to be in there by myself. But we packed everything up. My brother moved in, and every dish that my brother owned in that house, when it came back to my house, in some shape or form, it broke. You could have been eating cereal and it would have just, and it broke, right? You could have been using a cup. I remember this clearly. It was my older sister. She was using a cup. She just had a regular cup, and she's sitting there and she drinks it, and then the whole handle she's holding the handle and the whole cup just falls off the handle, right? So when my mom was like, look, we're just going to throw all of them away. Anything from the house, we're throwing away. We're getting rid of it, this and that. So that was our job, to get rid of it all, right? Mind you, I'm like in 5th grade, right? Time passes, this and that. I would still see the house. I actually knew people that lived in the house afterwards, and there was my brother finally would start telling me like different stories about the house that he would hear, and he never believed in this stuff, so he didn't know. And so he said the one of the crazy ones was they threw a house party and everybody left. He locked the door up, and a few people stayed. A few people were in the living room. A few people were in the spare room at the time, and then him and this girl were in his room. And at the middle of the night, they hear a baby crying, right? And so a baby's crying. A baby is, from the restroom. They hear a baby crying. So the only thing my brother thinks is, yo, this thing, somebody left a baby here last night at the party, right? And it's amazing how that would be your mindset. But I mean, I get it. That's the only logical thing I guess you could think of. So he said when they all woke up, they went to the restroom. They went to open the door. No baby in there. Crying stopped, whatever, right? So then revert back to, I said I knew people that lived there. One of my cousins, their family member on another side, they lived there for a little bit. And I remember when they moved out, I had asked, I was just so intrigued with their house. I was like, hey, why did they move out? And when they told me, they go, well, her son had an incident. He was by himself. He went to the restroom to take a shower. And when he was in the shower, he got out and all he heard was a baby crying inside of the little house. I mean, inside the restroom of the house. And then all he could see was on the walls was like all bloody and everything. So he started crying. He went into the corner, started crying, called his mom and said she needed to come. Ever since that day, they moved. That house is still vacant to this day. I honestly don't know who wants to live there. I don't even like driving by it when I drive by it, but that's because I know what came out of that house, right? So, mind you now, I'm maybe 16 years old, 16, 17, somewhere around there, right? And as guys, if you bring a girl over, you want your room clean, you want it nice, right? You want to make sure that they know like that you got a good room, right? Like, nah, I don't be living like this, there ain't no bottles everywhere and all that stuff. Yeah, Brittany, it was, but mind you, it's going to get interesting now. This is one of the biggest thing that ever frightened me, and I was never able to explain it like perfectly at that age to myself. And so my brother calls me one night, and mind you, this is at my new house. So my room, his room, and then the restroom right in the middle with the stairway. Same place where the little girl and all that. So I was still in the room with the little girl, touched my leg and all that stuff, right? I didn't leave. I mean, I didn't have a choice. That was my room, right? So my brother calls me. It's like probably about midnight. It's a Saturday night. My brother's like, hey, is your room clean? I'm like, yeah, what's up? And he goes, I have a girl coming over. My room's a mess, bro. Can I borrow your room, so we can watch a movie and stuff? And I was like, yeah, you know what, bro? That's cool. I'm going to be on the phone anyway. So I was like, I meet her while she comes up the stairs. I'm like, yeah, y'all good, man. This and that. I go to his room. I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit in his room. So in his room, it was his bed in the corner, the TV, we had a little area for the TV. There was a sofa, and then in between his bed and then the door. On his door, he had a big hanging mirror, like head to toe. You could see yourself, right? Mind you, I'm not scared of mirrors at this time. I mean, it doesn't bother me at this time. So I'm on the phone with this girl that I'm talking to, and I mean, we're joking, we're having fun. And then you ever just been like bored and you're just like, when you're just having good conversation, you're just like doing random stuff. So I was on his bed and I'm just sitting here like this into the mirror. And I'm just like that. I'm like, yeah, you can always come by, this and that, da 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 da. And I stop because my arm got tired. I stopped. Well, as I'm talking to her, I turn around again to look at the mirror, and I still see this in the mirror, mind you. And I'm already getting chills talking about it because I will never forget this night. So then I was like, oh, I'm tripping. And so I kind of just stopped talking at that point, and she noticed something was up with me. She was like, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, give me a minute. And so now I told you, I'm the adventure type. So like in the person in the horror movie that hears a movie, I'm that guy. I'm going to go try to figure out what it is, right? I'm just that who I am. And so I did this again in the mirror. I'm still talking to her. I'm doing this, and it stops again. And when it stops, I still see this in the mirror. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take it a step further. I literally do this. I look right in the mirror and I'm doing this. Right? This is whenever I was like, yo, I'm terrified right now. So I did that. I move away, and all it is myself. Myself is inside of the mirror looking right at me, just smiling. So I'm like stone faced, like, yo, I'm terrified. And something's literally just staring at me. No blinking, no nothing, just looking at me. Now, mind you, the mirror's on the door. So the only way in, I'm upstairs also. So the only way out of this room is through that door. So in my mind, I am racing. And so she's like, what's wrong, Nick? And I'm like, hey, I don't know if you're going to believe me. And she's like, just tell me. I was like, I just saw something come out, like something staring at me through this mirror, right? And so she's like, what? And I'm like, look, I know I sound dumb. I know I sound dumb right now, but I am terrified right now. And she said she could hear the terror in my voice. Like, I was just like, yo, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to ignore it. And so I would go to turn to like kind of ignore it, but it's in the corner of my eye. And so finally I turn fully to it. And all I remember is this ugly, nasty, like black, like if you've ever seen like The Ring and all that, how the girl comes out the TV, imagine that. I don't know what it was, I don't know what it is or what, but all I saw was an ugly dark figure of whatever coming out of the mirror now, right? Like it was me, and then it's like coming out of the mirror, and it's just on the opposite side of this sofa with me. So mind you, now I'm standing up like, yo, I don't know what to do. So I look at it, and all I see is it like if I would do this, it would do that. If I would do this, it would do that. So it was trying to watch me on which way I was going, because it's blocking the door. I got to get out. So I'm sitting here like I'm gonna die. Like this is it. This is my horror movie, right? Like I don't know what this is. I can't explain it. And I'm on the phone with her like, hey, do not hang this phone up. Like if anything happens, you have to explain to somebody somehow. Like, yo, this is what happened. And so I went to do like I'm over here trying to juke and all that stuff. I mean, you ever see me? I ain't the skinniest boy, so ain't no juking gonna help me on that one. But that thing or whatever it was it climbed on like the sofa where my brother had, and it was coming towards me. So I ran to the left. I literally tripped, and then I saw it crawling on the floor like around the sofa to me. I bolted out of that room so quick. I ran, got the door, and I slammed the door. And all I remember hearing is my brother come downstairs, and he's like, dude, what the hell? Like, bro, it's like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, bro. Stop making noises. I'm like, nah. I'm not going back in your room. I don't want to be in that room. You can't make me go back in that room. And so, mind you, I slept in the living room that night. I turned the TV on. I don't even remember what I was watching. I think I was watching, like, Nick at Night or something. I turned the TV on, and my mom woke up about, like, an hour later, because she heard the TV on. And so she's like, what are you doing in the living room? I was like, no. And I explained to her, this is what I saw. This is what happened. And I am terrified. So, like I told you, my mom was she believed in a lot of stuff. And so she would tell me, like, hey, this is probably nothing, or, but when I told her, like, yeah, something came out of that mirror towards me. And that's when she was like, what mirror? And I was like, the one upstairs in Justin's room. And she's like, okay, don't go in the room anymore. And when she told me that, don't go in the room anymore, I mean, I was like, oh, I ain't going anyway. Like, you can't make me go in this room. Like, no. But it got me scared. And so I was like, do I want to go? I mean, my room was taken. My brother and had a girl there, and they were watching a movie till I don't know when. So I didn't have a place. So I was like, do I stay in the living room where there's two openings here and I'm terrified, or do I go stay in my scary room that I don't like from when I was a kid downstairs, or do I go stay upstairs with whatever that's in this mirror, right? Like, amazing. I didn't have many options. So I sat in the living room, hid under like two covers, and just passed out. So then in the morning time, my mom is like, first thing she's do is like, she goes, call your brothers. So I was like, okay. And so I called Richard, I called Victor, I called all of them. I was like, hey, mom wants us here, like, handle some stuff. She's like, all right. She goes up to my brother, and she's my oldest brother, and she's like, where did you get that mirror from? And this dude says, oh, that's the mirror I had when I lived by myself in that house. My face was like, are you kidding me? Like, we we were told to throw everything away from that house. Get rid of it all. Get rid of it. All of that stuff. So, mind you, my grandma I'd given a call to my grandma from my mom, and I was like, I was talking to her, and then she went to talk to my mom, and they were speaking in Spanish, and then all my mom said was like, yeah, they're going to handle it. And so I was like, yo, what are we handling? So if you don't know about mirrors, they, like I said, they hold stuff. I mean, it's like any object can be possessed. Any object can hold stuff. But with mirrors, the thing is, like, they're like portals. Stuff can walk in and out of them. Stuff can do this and that. And so the thing is, my mom told me and my brothers, you go upstairs, grab the mirror off, and bring it down here. Do not drop it. Do not break it. Do not do any of that. And I was like, okay. So me, my brother Rich, my brother Vic, we go upstairs. I'm like, dude, it's going to take one of us, dog. Like, it's a long mirror, this and that. Ain't going to be much. That mirror weighed as much as me. It was so heavy. It was like if it was not trying to get out of this house. It was so heavy. I felt like I was like holding, like, if you ever held like a casket, like as a pallbearer, it was like that. Yeah. This was after Amanda. This was when me and Justin were upstairs. Like when we were upstairs, like up there, stuff. And so the thing is, like, it was just so heavy, and we took it outside, and it looks funny seeing three dudes carrying a little mirror, like, yeah, like. But then my brother's like, bro, really? It took y'all three to take one mirror? I was like, you carry it, dog. Like, you pick it up. So he went to lift it, and he's like, yeah, this is heavy, like ridiculously heavy for no reason. I was like, yeah. So mind you, we're outside, right? This mirror started to, if you ever smelled like a dead, like, rodent, like in the road, or, you smell it, that's what it smelled like. It started to smell like that. And all I remember was my mom giving me black paint, and she goes, paint over the mirror, right? Paint over the whole mirror. Do not break it. Do not do it. She goes, if you break it, if you drop it, whatever's inside this mirror is going to come out. And I was terrified. I was like, yo, I don't want to even get close to this thing. So my other brothers painted it, right? So now we're on the thing of, where are we going to take this at? Because I don't want to leave it at my house and then somebody pick it up around my neighborhood and they're stuck with this weird mirror, right? So I was like, I got to get rid of it. I got to go take it to a dumpster or something. So we get in the truck. We're driving around with it. Every place that I tried to dump this mirror at, somehow the owner or the person that works there would be like, no, you can't drop it here. Even all the little hood spots where people throw their trash at, I was that desperate to get rid of this thing. I couldn't get rid of it. I just could not get rid of it, right? And I was just to the point where I'm like, I was like, we're going to make a story up, bro. And I had two of my brothers go inside, talk to the guy, while I had my other brother back up. We dropped the mirror. And right when we dropped the mirror, the guy, the owner of the store, kind of like pushed my brothers and was like, hey, you can't drop that here. They ran into the truck. We bolted. I said, bye. I'm not risking it. I'm not taking it. Any chances of it, right? And so then that's whenever I kind of was like, yo, I wanted to learn about it. I wanted to understand how mirrors are, but I kind of regretted it as I got older because, I mean, there's mirrors everywhere. You get mirrors on your cars and all that stuff. So, I mean, I've had moments where, like I'm driving and I'll see like somebody sitting behind me, right? And I know, hey, bro, you're the only one in this car. That ain't real. Like, just keep driving, right? And I said I've had moments where like I'll look in the mirror, like especially night times. I hate going to the restroom at night and looking in the mirror. Like I kind of just don't want to do it. Like, and so I've had my moments where I see stuff and you get that feeling of something staring at you, right? Or like the biggest thing that gets me about mirrors, and it happened to me, I think yesterday, was it was either yesterday or the day before. And so they, I went into the restroom, right? And so my restroom, you walk in and you got to turn, and there's the mirror there with the sink, right? And so I go use the restroom, and I'm washing my hands, and when I turn like that, I see somebody staring at me in the mirror from the corner of my eye. So I turn real quick like that to look, and I just see something just like that. So mind you, I'm terrified of mirrors. Like I said, I turn the light off, I run out, lock my door, and I don't know what that's gonna do. But and I get into bed. I was like, hey, that's your restroom now, dog. Like I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to mess with that. But they say that like, so like you're never, if you have a mirror in front of you when you sleep, you're never supposed to have it at your feet end, right? So like if you're sleeping and you have a mirror right in front of you like that, you're never supposed to do that, because what a lot of I guess folk and Native Americans and all that, what they the belief is that, yeah, no, my sister said, she goes, that could be because of the house. We know a lot about that house. Yeah, that house is very, very creepy. I mean, even after we got rid of that mirror, it never stopped. And I mean, my sister's seen stuff, heard stuff there. That house was a interesting house, to say the least. Like it has its fair share of creepy things. Like I'll get into a few more. Let me but about the mirror, you never want to sleep in front of it. A lot of people say it takes your soul. It starts to absorb your soul. And so a lot of people, what they say is if they sleep in front of mirrors, they feel tired, fatigued a bit. And so it's kind of like if like a spirit, whatever's inside of it, the spirit and all that, is just like sucking your soul out, kind of. Yeah, my sister said a lot has happened in almost all the houses we lived in growing up. I remember that house that you, mom, and Justin lived in, where right behind the Campbells, where the old man would like mess with y'all and stuff. I remember that one that she told me about. It was a, yeah. I mean, my house now is my grandparents' house. I actually cleansed my house recently, but for some reason, like even our old house, we would cleanse it. I know my mom would bless the house, holy water and all, and it just never works. I don't know what it is. Yeah, the house that y'all lived in when y'all were younger, at behind Campbell's, right here in the hood. That thing, I don't ever want to go there. From the stories you told me and what Justin told me, that old man was like very like, I'm gonna use the word evil. The way he treated his grandkids and all that stuff, like the history of that house. And so for y'all to have to live there at a young age, I don't know how y'all did it. I mean, I know we used to move around, like do you remember Zuber, sis? The old barn house that we used to live in. So my mom and dad, we had an old house. It looks nice now, but it looked like a barn. It was a like it honestly, it looks like the Amityville horror house, like the front of it, but it was just a barn house. Like it was ugly and huge, and my parents were decorating it. They were gonna remodel it and stuff, so we had to live there. And I hated it because oh gosh, I hated this house because I was always scared. Oh, Marcus remembers it. Yeah, that house was I hated it. I said, I know Marcus's sister, my cousin, she moved in later on. And so the thing was, they used to have these big old like closets, like you could walk in through the whole closet, and I guess it was a closet. I don't know. I thought it was a closet, and it went to every room, right? And so I had my room, and then my sisters had their room, and all this stuff. At night, I promise you, every night I would hear somebody running through there. I would hear somebody running through there, and I was terrified because I was like, my bed was facing right towards the closet door, and I would hear somebody run and then just stare at me, run and stare at me. And I remember, oh, I was so scared. I ended up sleeping. I remember, I think I had like a light night light or something in that house, like in that room, and it would go out. It would just randomly go out. Yeah, see, my cousin even said, he goes, dude, me too. Like, it was so weird. Like, and then the backyard was just, it looked like if it was abandoned. And I mean, we cleaned it, we would do stuff with it, but they had an old garage back there and all that stuff. But yeah, that house was just, I don't know. It was always something like, and it was every night, every single night, I would have something running and then looking at me, running and looking at me. Oh, Brittany. So the house is, it's a gray house. It's in Jacinto City. It's right. You know where the first street when you get, I think, so when you're going in from GP to JC, you'll make a left at the first street by like the apartments are over here by that Mexican restaurant. You'll make the first one. You'll go past all the little nice houses. Right before you get to there's a church in front, and then there's this little gray, grungy looking house, and there's mobile homes on this side. It's literally there still. I showed my coworkers on Google Maps. It looks the exact same from whenever he used to live there. I hate that house. I actually want to go there now that I'm older, now that I understand stuff more. But I ain't gonna lie, I haven't had the guts to go over there. Cause after that mirror incident, all that stuff. What my sister say, upstairs where I lived was worse. I was by myself. The closet had no walls that closed it off. And I always felt stuff around me. Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm already getting chills from it. That house was so. That house was so creepy. Zuber, like that's why I said like Marcus when Lorinda moved in. I don't know how they did it. Like I didn't even want to go visit. I remember I stayed the night there once. I was terrified. I ended up. I think I slept like. I don't think I slept. I think I just stayed up watching TV like Nickelodeon or something. I couldn't sleep, and that the house was just. Oh, it just was creepy. Like every you felt just, and it wasn't like one thing staring at you, mind you. Yeah, on Lane Street. It's on Lane Street. So like if you go down right by the mobile homes, it's to the left side of you. You'll see it. You'll notice it. It stands out like by itself, right? And so the Zuber house though, our barn house, that thing just you would feel like multiple people around you like staring at you, and you would just sense like you would sense like yeah, I'm not alone right now. And I mean, I would hate personally, I know I don't know, my sister felt the same. As a kid, I felt bad complaining like every night about it, just because. I mean, I didn't want I didn't want to be a reason why my parents had to leave this house and all that stuff. But I mean, when they said, "Hey, we're moving out," I ain't gonna lie, I was thankful. That house every night it scared me. In the daytime it was fine. Daytime I could walk around the house. I wouldn't go in the closet area though. I would never go in by myself. I was terrified of it because it was just like it looked abandoned like in the inside. They were remodeling everything. And so I would never go there. Like if I didn't have to go upstairs by myself, I wouldn't have to. Like I would never go. But yeah, that house was creepy. I mean, most of my stuff I would say happened at our house in GP, the brick house, But I mean, I've been at people's houses, and what do you say? Yeah, when Lorinda had the upstairs fixed, like in 2001, I was in the restroom and I heard kids laughing and running, and the kids were asleep when I came out. Yeah, see, that that would be stuff I would hear though, and I mean the only kid, so it was me, my sister Amanda, my brother Justin, and then my other two sisters, Erica and Andy. And so there was a room downstairs. I remember there was a living room, and then there was, I think, wasn't Grandma and Grandpa living with us at one point? I don't know. I try to forget that place as much as I can. Yeah, and I would be upstairs, I remember, and I remember there was one time my brother messed with me, and he ran into my room and he started making noises and stuff, and I was terrified. And so he starts laughing, and so then I'm like, dude, that ain't funny, dog. Like, that's mean, this and that. But then, mind you, we hear somebody else start laughing in the closet area that is behind him. So he turns around real quick and like runs like by my bed, and he's like, "You heard that, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to bed, dog. I don't want to deal with this, dog. Like, it's creepy." But that was every night. Every night in that house, you would hear laughing, giggling, running, and it was weird. I was like, "Why is this like happening?" And I remember there was a time, because we were upstairs, mind you. My mom and my dad like were mad. They were like, "Yo, why were y'all running last night?" I'm like, "That wasn't us. Nah, that's not us. That's I don't know what that is. You need to get this house checked." But that wasn't us. Like, we ain't getting in trouble for you, man. And yeah, it was bad. I mean, I remember glimpsing pieces of the house. I don't want to that place. I don't even. I drove by it recently, and I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. I don't want to be going there." But like my old house, I kind of want to go back to my old house just because it's kind of nostalgic of how much stuff I've seen in that house. Yeah, Brittany, if you drive by it, man, you'll see it. You'll see it completely. It's still there. It's same old gray looking peeled house and everything. I mean, and then look in the front window and you'll see that that's where the lady was staring at. So, um, oh, the blue house, right? I remember that house. That was yeah. Was it that blue house? Like it was that little park. It had like a swing and all that stuff, and then it was just. I remember that house. That we moved into that house right after Zuber, I think. Yeah, because my dad moved. My dad stayed in Zuber. My mom moved there. Yeah. So I'm gonna get to yours real quick, Mark. No, no, you're good, bro. You good. I remember when the serial killer Rafael Resendez Ramirez or something was on the loose, and anything I heard it was him, bro. I don't be playing with that stuff, dog. Like, nah, I don't be playing with that at all. Like, if somebody's on the loose, I ain't answering doors. I ain't doing none of that. Yeah, that blue house though. I remember it. I remember that we did. So my brother, ironically, talked us into doing a horror movie. Right, we had a little video camera. Right, he talked me and my sisters into doing a horror movie. Like, hey, bro, we gonna make it. This and that. Right. So mind you, we never got the video done. It never materialized into anything because we couldn't get stuff right. We just couldn't get stuff right. I remember one sister had gum in her hair, right? Mind you, I was the dying kid or something. My brother talked me into putting ketchup all over my body and clothes and then getting into my mom's bed and putting the covers over me, right? Yeah. Amazing, right? So, the thing is, though, I remember that house. We did that video and all that stuff, and then I remember I think we were trying to watch the video again, and it just you couldn't really see stuff in there. But that house, I don't remember it too much. I remember living there, right? I remember living there. I remember there was a time where I looked out the front and the swing was just moving by itself, kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, that's some crazy wind. But the swings next to it weren't moving, so that kind of freaked me out. And then I remember in the middle of the night, I was in the living room, and that was at the time when I don't remember if you remember when McDonald's had all those 101 Dalmatian toys, right? And I remember I had one. It was a one with like a tire, and it would spin, right? And I remember I was putting my toys up, and I had left it out, and so I put my toys up in a container. My mom would make me put them in, and I put them up, and then when I turned around, this thing was just spinning in the room, and I remember I was very terrified because I was like, "Yo, we just left this place, which was the barn house, moved here, and I thought things were getting better, and clearly they didn't." I was terrified. Yeah, it had the three floating things around Justin the time the lady told mom to video him, and Justin was acting weird. Yeah, my brother at that house, my brother's demeanor changed drastically. Like it really, it was just he was having a lot of trouble. I mean, brother's older, but he was having a lot, and I remember there was stuff that was the house. Yeah, stuff would float around you, and you would like you wouldn't hear much of the noises. You would see stuff. You would see like people walking like from one room to another, or like I would see somebody staring at me from outside, type of thing, you know. And it kind of amazes me because, mind you, now that we're reminiscing and stuff, I grew up in so many of these houses. I'll even go to like people. Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. It wasn't him. So the story is something was attaching itself to my brother. So it was, and like in the video, you could see like something was on him or whatever, and it would make him do stuff that, I mean, it wasn't him, right? And I mean, if you believe in it, hey, you believe in it. If you don't, I mean, hey, But it was, I remember I was still little, so it was kind of hard for me to understand it. I didn't at that time. I told you I was terrified of stuff, like growing up in that Zuber house to this one, just one after another. It was kind of like, yo, like this is creepy. But it would attach himself. And I remember, it's coming back to me now, like I remember my mom having a conversation with that lady about it, like how to get rid of it. I remember she called I think grandma about it and stuff. And I remember I looked at my brother, and there was, when, no, I still remember that lady that followed you from school, sis. Like I mean, you and my sister, that's in the on Facebook right now, her and my brother went through some stuff, like from what I've heard when I had talks with my mom about, like, hey, I wanted to talk about this stuff, I wanted to do this stuff. And yeah, y'all went through some stuff at some of the houses y'all went to. I don't Yeah, I remember that lady though. I mean, that lady. And the thing is, so the story with my sister, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I was still little, so but I remember her. So my sister was walking home from the high school, right? And a lady's following her. I think she was wearing like a track outfit, right, or something, and she was like grayish and all that stuff. She follows her and all that stuff, right? And all I remember is my sister basically, yeah. So she would follow her a lot from walking from the high school to our house. Our house was close. This is my most recent house before I moved here. So this was the house that we grew up in, where the mirror stuff happened. Like I'm telling you, that house, every day something would happen in that house, or around the house or something. So yeah, this lady was following my sister, and she didn't know who it was. And all I remember was, I remember mom told you to grab. But my bad, bro. I mean, I gotta go to bed too in a little bit. I'm already like goosebumps and stuff talking about this stuff. But yeah, the lady would follow my sister. I remember my mom told her to grab a Bible and start praying and all that stuff. And all I remember was one time I had a dog in the backyard, Rocky. All I remember was this lady. Yeah, this lady was like, she would just be standing there like up in the air floating. And so she had my dog Rocky. Now, mind you, my dog Rocky was, he would like, he's that dog where you are like, hey, chill, bro, like you're too much. Like he'll be running around the backyard and all this. She had my dog standing there, and we had these big windows so I could see everything in my backyard. And she had my dog, and he's just sitting there looking at me like scared, and she's just sitting there smiling at me. I was so terrified because, I mean, my sister was upstairs talking to my mom in her room, like on the phone. And so I ran upstairs. I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on, but I felt a little safer up there with knowing that I wasn't alone. I mean, like, she's had stuff follow her. I've had stuff follow her from that house. I told you, like, growing up in that house, the first thing I knew, I realized. So under our stairs at that house, there was a little room, right? And there was a little room, had a little thing and all that. And mind you, you're gonna be like, yo, what the hell? I remember when we moved into this house. It was my mom's dream house and all this stuff. This was gonna be our forever home, this and that. I remember everybody was telling me, I was still little. They're like, just find a place, get out the way so that people can move the stuff in. So I was like, all right, that's easy for me. And what did my sister say? I would call mom and my dad would freak out because I knew she wasn't real. Like I knew she floated and shit isn't normal. Yeah, that lady. I've actually seen her recently, sis, and I'm getting into that. Um, but yeah, there was this room under our stairs, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna sit in there. I'm gonna see what's in this thing. So it had a little light in it. You would just little those little touch lights you would hit. So I got under the. I as dumb as it is, I got under the room in the stairs, and I sat there, and there was a rug and all that stuff, and I'm just sitting there playing with my toys in there. And then, mind you, I see a bucket of toys. I'm like, oh, bet, dude, like winning. I just moved here, and there's toys here. Oh, amazing. So what do I do? That night, I move all these toys to my room. Yo, I got more toys, bro. Yeah, no. I think that was the day that my room that I've had as a kid ended up starting with stuff because yeah, I was 8 years old. I mean, and that was ever since those toys were in my room. I remember I would hear toys, and they were like old toys. They weren't like like I had action figures, wrestling figures from like WWE and all that stuff, and these were older toys like Western, like just a little Jack in the Box thing and all that stuff. And I remember I would hear stuff go off in my room, and I would just be like, "Yo, man, these freaking toys, this and that." And I never put it together until I got older, and I'm like, "Yeah, maybe it wasn't the best bet to put these random toys." So we ended up doing a lot of research on the house as we got older, and there's people that have passed in there. There's been a lot of history in that house. I know there was a little boy, Charlie. He would. Yeah, the lady in the house in front of her, she had really old toys. Yeah, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, Charlie was cool. Charlie was a little boy that we had in the house. He would close doors for you, this and that. I mean, you would hear a noise and you'd be like, "Ah, come on, Charlie, like chill out, bro." Now, I didn't care. Charlie was cool. Charlie was dope. Yeah, the lady in front of us. Yeah, yeah. I think I remember her. Was it the one by Myrna's house? Like by that one? Because I remember. Yeah, the little girl. That's what I'm telling you. So mind you, this like the little girl that touched my leg was cool. My sister, right? Amazingly, like she would just mess with me and my brother. Cool, bet. But the thing is, like, there was so much in this house that I've seen. Like the weirdest. One of the things, like there was a time where me and my cousin Brian, we were, mind you, I think I was in like, I want to say seventh grade, probably around there, and we were in my room downstairs, the creepy room I hate, right? And we're asleep and all that stuff, and all I remember was waking up. I see my cousin to the side of me, and I wake him up, and I'm like, "Hey, bro, you hear that noise?" He's like, "Yeah." So we go outside, right? We go to the garage, and we end up seeing a dude standing there. I don't think I remember that one. Upstairs apartment where you could look into our backyard. I don't think I remember that one. Hmm. And so I go to the garage, and mind you, our garage would go down like with stairs, right? And it was a huge garage of concrete, but it was like an inside garage, like it had our washer, dryer, and all that stuff. And I opened the door, and there's a dude standing in like all black, right? Mind you, standing there in the in the garage, staring at us from, and so he would look upwards like at us. All I remember was him looking at me and just like started laughing, and then like the room started to get red, like if like you had red like LED lights on, right? And so the thing is, we ended up getting, I was terrified. I slammed the door, I run to my room, and all I remember is waking up. Like I jumped into the bed, and this dude's following me through the house, right? So I'm slamming the doors in front of him, boom, 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 and then I get to my room. Mind you, my door doesn't close. This room downstairs at my old house would never close for some reason. The door would get fixed, whatever, it would just creep open. So I slammed the door, knowing damn well it's not going to close. And when I slammed it, all I remember was jumping into bed. I woke up, And as I woke up, I was like, if I had just run, mind you, what freaked me out was my cousin that's spent the night does the same thing. And he was in my dream with me running. We both went to the thing. And so I turned to him. He turns to me. He goes, "Bro, did you see that guy?" And I was like, "In the garage?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yo, like, what what was that? Like, what just happened?" He's like, "I don't know, bro." He goes, I didn't expect, to wake up and you say the same stuff." I was like, "Yeah, I don't know what that is." So, yeah, the garage was very creepy place. So mind you, this happened. Then I want to say it was probably like another weekend later. I remember I was upstairs at the time. I think my other two sisters came over, so they were in my sister's room upstairs, and I stayed in my brother's room upstairs. Nobody wanted to be in that room downstairs by my mom and my dad's room. Like nobody wanted to be in that room ever. So I go upstairs, and I remember in the middle of the night we hear like a knock on the door, and so we hear the knock on the door, and then all I remember seeing, because I came down the stairs, and mind you, I don't know what time it is. I heard the knock. I was like, oh man, I'll go check. So when you come down the stairs, you can see at a certain point of the door of who's standing at the door, like if somebody's standing there, right? Mind you, I go down the stairs, and I look like out the window like that, and I see a dude literally head into my window like this, right? And so he makes eye contact with me, and I make eye contact with him, and I'm just like, yo, what the? Now, I realize I've seen this dude before. This was the guy that was in my garage, right? And so it was like he had like a black hat, like, like those like black hats that like, they would like spies and like FBI and all those old like little hats on. He had a trench coat and all that stuff. So my dad and my brother, they go and open the door, like they think it's like a guy trying to break in or something. So mind you, they go to open the door. My brother goes through the garage, my dad goes through the front, and when they open the door, this dude is now, instead of being at the door, he's at the street by in front of our house just staring at us. And I remember looking through the window because my dad told me to get away. And I'm looking through the window and he's staring right at me, just like grinning. And I was just like, yo, I don't even want to see this dude again. And so for like a few nights, like I would always see this guy like outside. Yeah, yeah, mom. So our mom ended up getting the house blessed and a bunch of other stuff, and so the guy couldn't, whoever he was, he couldn't come back in the house again. I mean, I don't know who he was, I don't know what it was, but like there was a lot of, just from that, the different, it was weird, like to explain the house. Yeah, like to explain the house, it was, every room had its, I would say every room had its ghosts, right? My room was the coldest room downstairs. It was freezing cold. I don't care what you would do. It was freezing cold. Summertime, freezing cold, whatever. That one, you would feel people stare at you, right? The bathrooms, you would hear, like, if you were in the restroom, you'd hear people in the hallway, like, walking by and this and that, knowing damn well you're by yourself. Up, you'd be downstairs, you'd hear people walking upstairs, right? You'd hear laughter because you could hear through our vents. Our vents were like, we already knew if you're upstairs and you say something, mom's going to hear it, right? And so you would hear stuff and all that. So let me see. What did Francis say? Dolores and I stayed at a haunted hotel in New Bronzeville, but didn't see no ghosts. Yeah, I feel if you go to a place looking for it, you won't see much. And I figured that at the Minger Hotel because the first night I stayed there, I didn't see anything. But the second night when I was like, this is fake, whatever, that's when they started to mess with me. So I've kind of learned, like, if you go somewhere and like try to like, hey, I want to see it, they're not gonna come, especially like older ghosts like that. They're not gonna come to you. So that's one thing I've noticed though personally. I mean, it may be different for other people. What did my niece say? She goes, I remember once when I was little, I was in the living room. I never told anybody, but I was awake early watching cartoons and heard clapping. I thought it was y'all messing with me, so I called out, but no one was awake. I was scared at times, but never that much. That clap was loud and close. My dad's room was so bad and scary, way too dark, and the closet was horrible. Yes, So that's what I'm telling you. Like, it's not just me that's saying this stuff. Like, we've all lived there. We all had experience. So what my sister put, none of that started until we were in there for a couple months. They would behave when mom was around. Yeah. So my mom was kind of like I would say the beacon for like when stuff would happen. She was always never like terrified of it. Like, she would be like, yeah, okay, look, listen to me, do this and do that. But it was never like she was worried about, stuff messing with her. I mean, I was terrified. Don't get me wrong. Like my niece said, she heard, and so the clapping sound. Honestly, I've heard that before in the house, but I heard it with a can. It was and all that stuff. Like I've heard different at that house. I think that's why I'm so now where I'm at now in my head of like this stuff. I'm not too scared, I'd say, of it because that house really was a hit or a miss. One night you may get a great night's sleep, and the next night you're like, yo, I heard all that stuff last night. Like, I mean, my brother's room was dark. It was no light that came in ever. The closet was like, I never opened his closet, right? That was the room where I had the mirror at. I think it messed with all of us because we were the kids. They can tell who's not scared and mom wasn't scared. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Amanda. The only time I ever saw mom scared was the time that we heard the banging in the kitchen. It was me, her, and Justin only. And I was in my room upstairs, Justin was his room, and mom was downstairs. And all you heard in the kitchen was like if somebody had a can and they're just banging on the counter. And we all woke up, ran downstairs, and when I saw mom's face, like, what was that? I was like, oh man, if she's scared, I'm done for. Like, I don't know what. And while we're talking, you hear it again, bam, 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 bam. And so we ran to the kitchen, right? Nothing. Then you hear it in the garage, bam, 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 bam. And I'm just like, yo, I don't know what to do. And my mom's like, when do you go here? When do you go there? When do you go there? And it just never, we never figured it out. It was just like, okay, it happened, and then it was done. But we say, didn't y'all see someone wave back? Yeah, I talked about it earlier, niece, about me in the with your dad's room in the mirror. That why I'm terrified of mirrors. Why I will always be terrified of mirrors. I mean, whatever was in that mirror, I don't want to ever see that thing again. It wasn't. I'm cool with ghosts. I'm cool with seeing dead people and all that. That's cool with me. I'm fine with that. I don't want to see stuff that I know is trying to hurt me, trying to do stuff. Nah, I'm good. Do the stairs though. Remember when they would run up and down? Yes. So our stairs were old wood stairs, and you would hear that. You would hear them running up and down the stairs, and all that stuff. And I just heard something on the left side of my ear. But yeah, we're gonna keep going with this. Yeah. So those stairs were very creepy and old, and it just was. It was very. The house was interesting. I'm gonna say that. If you were there by yourself, you would hear stuff. You would see stuff. You would. I remember my brother Rich. I was at school. He came to my house and he was playing my Xbox. And upstairs in my room, he was sitting there. He had his headphones in, and when somebody sits on your bed, you hear the little, like you hear it. So he heard that. Then all you see is in my bed is an indentation of somebody sitting there. My brother Vic, he did the same thing. He was upstairs and he heard people downstairs, or you'll be downstairs, you'll hear people upstairs, and it was just very, very creepy. I felt the most scared and vulnerable in the restrooms. Like, that's where my weird obsession with looking out for the shower curtain started. That little door with the dirty clothes. Yeah, so we had a little where we put our towels. We had a little door there for like all of us would throw our dirty clothes in there, like with a basket, and so my mom would basically clean them up and stuff. And I swear I would always, while using the restroom, I would always see that door open, knowing it had like a little thing on it, so you would like push it in and it would stay there. But yeah, it always would open, and I was terrified. I know what you mean, niece. That thing. Oh, the summers with just you and me, sis, were terrifying. Especially when you were like upstairs and I was downstairs by myself. I would hear stuff in like my mom's room or my room, and I know it's just you and me. And I mean, I noticed the house got a little better when we got all the dogs and stuff, mom's dogs and stuff, and then like Diamond in the back, it started to get a little better, but yeah, it was still it was interesting. I mean, I've had my fair share of, so this house I'm in right now is my grandparents' house, right? I've had my fair share of stuff here, for sure. Um, I've had, like I said earlier in the video, I told you about my sleep paralysis moment where I've never had that before. I mean, the house is, it. I'm not saying I don't feel safe here. It's not what I'm saying. The house here is the same thing I get. Yeah, I mean, we could do that one day. I'm down. I love reminiscing on this stuff. But yeah, the house here is, I feel safe here, but I will say, like, I've had people also that come here. They're like, "Yo, can we close?" Like, if they're in my room, they're like, hey, "Can we close the door?" Like, I never have this door open at nighttime. Like, I keep it closed 100% of the time when I'm going to sleep. If I don't, I feel somebody staring at me from my thing. And I mean, it's not just like when you're in the dark and you feel no, like legit, there's shit that stares at me. Yeah, that back room. Yeah, that's what, honestly, I didn't want to sleep back there. Like when my dad wanted that room, I was like, cool, I'll take the front room, right? But and see this. Okay, so I'm going. So sis, that back room, that was where I had my dream where I met. I think it was Grandpa's mom. It was some lady that we're related to somewhere down the line of the Godoys, and she knew my name. I mean, I said it last time in the story. I mean, in the last episode, I think. But yeah, she knew my name. She knew my everything about me, and she was like, "I've been waiting for you," this and that. But she was doing a lot of black magic, dark magic. I saw the candles. I saw a book, and I put two and two together. I mean, and all I remember was like me waking up, and that was the room I ended up in, like when I opened my door. And I mean, I remember grandma and mom telling me a lot of like, hey, if you ever see her again, don't go to her. I'm like, I don't even know who this lady is. Like, I've never met her, but she knew everything about me, right? Yeah, the closet. So like my dad stays in that room. That closet stays closed all the time. He doesn't like keeping that closet open. That back room is creepy though. Like, yeah, I mean, I've um I've had my fair share of talking to people. I guess like that's why I said I want to record myself as I sleep. I really do because I've that a lot of people that like, especially my brothers that have ever stayed the night, with me, they say I talk in my sleep, but I don't talk like hey man, what's up? Da, da, da. It's more of a you know just talking. Like I'll speak. Like the one that got me was when Vic told me I was speaking Spanish, like old Latin Spanish, like in my sleep. I don't know no Spanish. I can order like some tacos and that's about it. Like ain't you ain't getting much out of me, bro. Yeah, I mean, I keep telling me I'm probably get a GoPro and just videotape me. I think the part of me is I know I'm gonna see stuff on those videos, and I think that's what's gonna get me because I'm gonna be like, yo, I can't sleep now, but I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to see it because there's those days where I mean those nights where I know like yeah I was talking to something or someone or whatever. I mean, I'm one of those people. I go to people's houses, and if you're ever around me, and you ever just see me looking around or quiet, it's because I either see something, I'm hearing something, or I'm like, it's usually somebody staring at me, or I'm hearing something, right? I know my brother Carlos and Alexis and them, their old house. I mean, we were partying, we were drinking, and all I remember was they finally told me like, "Hey, Nick, you're into this stuff, right? You see stuff." I was like, "Yeah, man. If you don't believe me, that's cool. I'll prove it to you." Yeah, I mean, whatever, whatever it is that is with me. I mean, I've had it since I was little. I mean, I used to tell people I speak to angels. I used to, tell people like, hey, you're having a little boy, you're having a little girl. I mean, now as an adult, I guess I just look at stuff, I see stuff, and I mean, I guess in my sleep I talk to stuff. I remember I've had dreams of me waking up and there's dudes in my room chanting around me, and I'm just like, yo, who are y'all? There was at one time, Julia, where you were little, and I think your great grandmother had passed, and I remember you told me and your dad that you said her whole name. You had never met her before. You said her whole name. You said she talked to you. I remember that one. But yeah, I don't. Luckily, I mean, after that night, I went into the room and told them to stop messing with you and mess with me. I mean, they made sure that they did that for sure. Like, I don't see honestly. I don't see Justin much. I don't really see any of them much. Like, uh, I haven't seen many of them. Most of the time when I see stuff, I'm not gonna lie to you. Most of the people I see are not people that I really want to meet. Yeah, I don't want to. A lot of the things I meet, like okay, like Carlos, and let me get back to that story real quick. Their house, I went upstairs, and Alexis would always tell me like, "Hey, there's a when I'm in the shower, Carlos isn't here. I'll hear stuff, I'll see stuff, and and all this." So I was like, "All right, cool. Well, they all went to the store to grab something real quick, and so I stayed. I was like, all right, I'm gonna stay here. Paranormal investigator Nick here, and oh great. I'm in the restroom downstairs. I hear somebody upstairs. I know I'm by myself. So I'm like, oh okay, here we go. And so I go upstairs by myself, and there was a spare room that they used to have. You go up the stairs. There's a room here, a restroom, and another room. I open the door. There's nothing in the room, right? It's just a carpeted room and all that stuff. All I see is a lady staring in the corner of the door, like inside of the room, and I'm like, "Yo, I know I see her. I know I see her. I know she's there." And it was just an old. You ever seen those old like Victorian like old women with the gray hair tied back, and they're in like a little like pilgrim dress type of thing? That's what I saw. Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, I mean, there's a few that I know I've had for a while that I'll see here and there. But yeah, the lady though, I had I didn't get like I'll know if something doesn't bother me, I'll be okay. I'll look around, I'll be like, "Oh, okay, something's there. It's messing with me. It's trying to get my attention. It knows I can see it. It knows I can talk. So it's messing with me." But this lady, she knew like when I went in that room, I just got the most disgusting feeling like all around me. Like I was like, oh, this lady is like I don't want to use the word old, but it was like an old like soul that just was like I don't know how to explain it. It just was very disgusting and like it was malicious. Like you could tell like she's not good. Like she wants you out of here type of thing. So mind you, they come home. I backed out. I backed out like backwards though, out of the room. I didn't want to turn my back to her. So I back out, and when I go downstairs, they come through the door, and they could tell on my face right away, like, yeah, I saw her. So I go upstairs, like, as a group, we're like, man, let's go in there. We're gonna. I don't know what we thought we were gonna do, but yeah. And so we would go there, and I remember like telling them like in the room like yo, y'all, this I don't know what this is, but y'all need to get this room blessed or however you're gonna do it because this thing ain't right. And so they ended up moving down the street to another one. And mind you, I mean, they still live in the new one. But when I go there, I always get that feeling, and I've seen her in the house still, like staring from the top room down towards where they live at, just staring at us. And I just that feeling of her. And so I know she had followed one of my brothers to his house. And so I don't know if she hitchhikes to them or what. Like that's the thing about spirits though. I mean they can latch onto you, they can train you, and you gotta watch it. Like there's a I mean they're not all Caspers, right? There's some very questionable things out there that I feel that if you feel it's happening to you, then yeah, you need to do it. What do you say? I only saw my dad like twice since he passed. He comes to me in dreams. The first one, it was all of us in the house, even Angie, and he was telling me that it was his time to go and that he loved me, but to say goodbye. I really believe it was him of giving me closure. Second was when I got my boyfriend. My dad came to speak to me about him and ask me questions. Typically, is my Facebook still messed up? Is it back? It froze on Facebook, I think. Says it's live. Okay, it's back, I think. Can you hear me on Facebook? I think we're good. I don't know what happened. I think it froze on Facebook. Yeah, I think it froze. I'm losing viewers. So I'm thinking something happened here. What the? What did I? What the? What's going on with my Facebook? What? So I don't know what happened. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Facebook gave me a restriction from something I posted in 2 years ago. So it has my video froze. So I don't know. I'm gonna end the video here. I think until I figure this out. I don't know what's going on here. It literally said you've posted something that I don't know. They said something about I posted something like from 2 years ago or something. So yeah. So it has my video frozen. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here. Thank y'all for coming out. Next week, I don't know what I'm talking about yet. We'll figure it out. I'm pretty sure a lot of what happened within this week, like it always does. I mean, it's 2 in the morning, so it should be an interesting night, right? But much love to everybody. Thank you for coming out on Twitch, on Facebook. Yeah, I don't know. It says something that happened to me that I posted like a year or two ago. That's what it says on here. So yes, I mean, I'm just gonna figure it out. I gotta go through Facebook right now on my computer. But love y'all. Good night. Hopefully later.